Hello, everyone. It is Cheryl Millett here on Wednesday, January the 23rd. And tonight I'm going to talk about sublingual as it relates to omega-3. So let's get into that topic. But first I want to say, Cheryl Millett for your better health. Yes, I'm here in Toronto. I have been working with omegas, particularly mammalian omegas, for the last 10 years, for over 10 years now. And I didn't limit my view on what omegas were just by the mammalian, but actually explored quite deeply what this was all about, what other omegas there were, and the differences between them. And tonight I'm just going to focus on the sublingual part of it, and then tell you, what is sublingual, why is sublingual effective, a story about somebody and her comment on sublingual, and so forth. So let's get started. What is sublingual? A sublingual is, as they say, sublingual. It's underlingual, under tongue. So under tongue is sublingual. In this case, we're looking at a particular, omega, and a raw mammalian omega is able to be sublingually absorbed. Sublingual glands are part of the salivary glands. So you have the whole range of salivary glands, and as part of that, you have sublingual glands, which then takes in and absorbs things. Some of the things that gets absorbed that way is not necessarily everything, of course. So B12, there's a sublingual B12. There is nitroglycerin, which is something to do with the heart, that in the case sublingual is used immediately. And then we have things like homeopathics as well, that you hold under the tongue, and that's more vibrational. So a raw source of mammalian omegas will be absorbed. And I say raw versus the refined, bleached and deodorized, or refined, or molecularly distilled, or purified. Those kind of things had heat to the mix, and then the oil wouldn't be raw anymore. So as today, we want to know, why is it more effective? If we think about, and there's some stats that I have here, why would we want sublingual? Therefore, why is it is more effective? Is the fact that when you take some things in sublingually, it bypasses the digestive system, so you're not swallowing it. Although in this case, the mammalian one, you end up swallowing it. But when you're holding it under the tongue, the root, it is going into sublingually, into the sublingual artery, into the carotid artery, and directly into the bloodstream, bypassing the digestive system. And what I'm going to point out is every, let's say, chronic disease, which is diabetes, it's cancer, it's a number of them where we have chronic inflammation. These chronic diseases, which is numerous and affects millions of people around the world, when we talk about the digestive disorders, they cost, just in 2000 in Canada, it cost $18 billion annually in healthcare costs and lost productivity. And when we think of the digestive system or diseases of the digestive system, 30,000 Canadians die of these diseases every year. That's a lot, and a lot of hospitalization is due to digestion as well, food poisoning being one of them. There's a number of stats, and you can explore these as well. So digestively, our system is dysfunctioning. That goes into Ayurvedic and Chinese as well. Both of those, and I don't know if you are familiar with Ayurvedic, I'll say Ayurvedic medicine, that way you can kind of tie it in Chinese medicine. And they've been around for a long time. And even those practitioners or doctors will say that the digestive system is dysfunctioning every time when there's an illness. Therefore, sublingual, where we can have sublingual absorption, that is ideal. That is where we're getting direct route into the body. And that's where it becomes highly effective in using that. Whereas when people do have conditions, and even when we're under a lot of pain, so let's get into the pain factor here. When we're under a lot of pain, our digestive system will move from being a calm, focusing on digestion, to the uncalm, or let's say being chased by a lion. The adrenaline kicks in, and our systems do not digest the same way, even under that condition where there is stress and tension. And pain does put stress on the person, does put stress on our body, it does change what hormones were being produced, and so forth. So with a lot of people who actually have nerve damage, which they call neuropathy as well. Neuropathy affects a lot of people with diabetes. It's one of the underlying things with the various complications, from lower limb amputation to kidney to blindness. And I'll talk to research about how effective sublingual can be in the actual research. So when it comes to sublingual, that's why it's very important, because of its absorption factor. The other thing I'll step into now is the story. So there was a person that I worked with, and she was having a condition around diabetes and is very familiar with the complications, and was hoping things would get better, or was hoping to find things, and has been looking for things that would help her. So I said I would drop by and spend some time with her. Just wanted to show her something, talk to her about something. But in the process, I actually had her take the oil under her tongue, which I am going to show later on how we do that. It's not very complicated. But this person, and I'm going to leave her anonymous for now, even though she has shown up at one of my presentations, and I interviewed her and shared, so she could share her story with everybody. When I was there and she held it under her tongue, I simply explained, yes, about the effect that the mammalian has, like us. So it has been shown to deliver positive results, and effective immediately that way over other sources, and how important even these omegas are just in general. While she was holding in her tongue for 5 minutes, I was able to get through some of this information. So I was able to explain to her. But what I didn't explain to her is the actual route of how sublingual works. Coming sublingually, going into the sublingual artery, into the carotid artery, and directly into the bloodstream. I did not go into that science that way. And when she finished holding it and I said, okay, you can swallow, she proceeded to tell me that she could feel the oil. Now, a person who is blind, makes sense. They are very sensitive. She was also a very intuitive person as well. So she's very sensitive and in her senses. And she was explaining to me, I remember she was saying, it's Cheryl, I felt the oil come back here, and then it went back here, and then in the back part of her brain. And that was, of course, do I wish I had it on film? Yes. But it was enough for me to be directly there to understand that, wow, many people, as I was at that point, had lectured for a handful of years, had said, how do you know it's sublingual, Cheryl? And I mean, I didn't, other than I know I felt it the same day, but does that mean it was sublingually effective, or was it still just working at the digestive level? I didn't really know. Research talked to sublingual, like I talked about nitroglycerin and B12. So it was very interesting to be there. And, it's just, I was kind of stunned. And, but also excited at the same time. that here I was able to witness this one person who was very sensitive. Her senses are very acute, and was able to tell me the route of it going in. She did get good benefits, and she went on to be able to see some light. She had one eye that she would not be able to see out of, because I believe it was a glass eye. And then the other eye, she had lost her sight in mid-childhood. It wasn't at birth. It had to do with something else. And so, she was able to see pockets of light when she was in a complete calm state. And what the oil was helping her with is actually to see light more often in other situations, maybe not as calm. And maybe just even walking down the street, I think she said one time. And even when I had her for the presentation and we were spending some time sitting, as people were arriving, she was pointing to where the light was and asking me, is that the light? Is the light right there, Cheryl? And in the library, as you know, the big, the fluorescent panels of lighting that are up there. And she was pointing to one of those. So that's exciting. So that's the story on that as far as sublingual absorption. That's the only one I have that way. And it was wonderful. Now I wanted to go into a bit of a demo with it. Again, it's not a big deal. It's basically, I have another how-to demo. The idea is that this is all oil. Yes, there's some vitamin D oil, and apparently that can actually sublingually absorb as well. I guess we can look at this as energy and vibrational, and the way it kind of works with molecules, if I'll go into that, is that the mammalian has a different configuration when it comes to the molecule of omega that's mammalian versus the molecule of omega in a fish or a plant. So they're different. They have different positions, I'll say it that way. And the positioning of the mammalian is just like us, and that's what allows the lipase enzymes in the mouth to actually prefer the mammalian one, like breast milk is actually also absorbed sublingually as well, bypassing the digestive system of the baby, or that's at least partially absorbed that way. So with this oil, it's just as easy now. I don't know if you can see it, but I actually put a small hole here in the foil. This is a foil here that helps. Oil is quite slippery. The molecules seem to be smaller than water, and it can seem like there's a lot there. But what I usually do, and I don't measure it anymore, because if this is enough servings for, let's just say, 20 days, one bottle, 1 teaspoon, then I should be finished this in 20 days. So it really doesn't matter if I have a little bit more today, a little bit less tomorrow. I miss a day. Now, some people do feel the difference when missing a day. But what I would do is just use this as a squirt bottle, and I would just hold it like this. Wait my lip on top of here. I will hold it under the tongue. Not 1 minute, not 2 minutes, like 5 minutes. I won't do that tonight. But so afterwards, after holding it in, there's benefits to actually moving the oil around the mouth. We do have a lot of bacteria in the mouth, which is in some ways bacteria is thought of as both being positive, and then on the other side, I'm not sure if the majority of the bacteria in our body is bad, but we can surely, and I don't kind of want to get into a morbid way of talking here, but in death, the bacteria is very helpful. It's very helpful. It kicks into action different enzymes and bacteria to help with the decomposing of the body, right? So a bacteria, I'm just going to look at it as our friend, and as we are treating it accordingly, then we have the healthy biome and healthy bacteria, which is very good. So there's this bacteria in the mouth. If you swish around the oil in the mouth, that's very healthy. I had one client actually hold the oil under his, in his mouth, swish it around afterwards. And his dentist had given him the best checkup ever. And, we're talking somebody who's up there decades in life, and so has had lots and lots of dental checkups. So that was very positive. So I do mention that there'd be 3 steps. You would hold it under your tongue. You would swish it around the mouth, whatever's left over. Because quite frankly, sometimes in the beginning, much will be absorbed under the tongue, and there's really nothing to swallow. Where there's stuff left under the tongue after, let's say, you hold it 5 minutes, then you can swish it around the gums, around the mouth, and then whatever there's left to swallow, then yes, swallow it for sure. But if people do have a serious, now I'm saying serious issue with processing fats, and I mean really serious, they could always spit it out. So that's the positive side. I mean, you get it absorbed into the blood sublingually, and then that person, in 10 years or so, I've never come across a person that wasn't able to take it if they had various liver issues. In fact, it would be very beneficial that way. The other thing I wanted to talk about today is, even though sublingual may be effective getting into the body more so than the fish, more so than the plant oils, because mammalians like and like, and there we can actually do therapeutic dosing. Therapeutic dosing quite often is a dose higher than what is recommended on the bottle, and quite frankly, very much should be practitioner driven. And in the therapeutic dosing, I'm just going to give you a couple of examples. Again, it still would be sublingually absorbed, but here's a couple of examples. So one example of a therapeutic dosing would actually be in the research itself. So here's a couple of examples. One research, it has been published. It has to do with diabetic, type 1 diabetes with people. And it was to do with the eye, to do with neuropathy, where because the nerves are shrinking in the eye, that's why blindness happens. And so that's what they were measuring. So in that case, rather than and I'm just talking particularly about the Ohm Sublingual D, that particular one will say 1 teaspoon per day. That's the suggested serving because of the number of vitamin D in there. For the research, they didn't have the vitamin D. They just had the straight up seal oil, and that was 2 teaspoons per day. So 2 teaspoons per day. Another research that is still being conducted to do with cancer treatment neuropathy, be it that cancer treatment, and it is a poison, it is medicine. This is spoken right out of the mouths of our own doctors. It actually causes neuropathy or nerve damage every time. And they wanted to see whether or not this would really help. In, I guess, a logic sense, it would potentially help people that have gone through or is going through cancer treatment to offset the nerves from being damaged. And they did 3 teaspoons. So 3 teaspoons with the sublingual D, which has 1,000 international units of vitamin D in it per teaspoon. I have heard that the results are wonderful. I have heard people talk, have been taking it when going through cancer, have very good results. And that's how we can look at therapeutic dosing. But I just want to kick in another one that wasn't part of research. Actually, 2 more. One is the idea around somebody who has chronic, let's say, lung, chronic cough, those kind of things, where they get those things and weeks later they still are experiencing this cough that won't go away. And in that case, another fellow practitioner had suggested and had done some good results with other people, that when they took 2, 3, even 4 times the amount in one day, that it was able to boost the immune system and boost the nervous system and whatever else it does in order for this oil to kind of kick in and really help the body. And then, gone. I mean, it just went away. And that's been done numerous times. And I'll use that as a practitioner with people to do some therapeutic dosing for a day, for 2 days. If injuries and stuff like that, it'd be very good for that as well. And here's one other case, which in a lot of ways sounds, and some of these are going to sound like too good to be true. And there is such a variety of responses with the raw mammalian oil that I can never know what the response is going to be with anybody. But here's one particular case. I guess we get inspired by them. A boy who has been diagnosed on the autistic spectrum. Again, this was through another practitioner who was able to give me feedback, directly a statement from the parent. And what they did, hats off to, doing this, it definitely would have cost more than what, more than just a bottle or two. So here's a boy who's 12 years old. He is grade 2 level math. He's been diagnosed with, on the spectrum. And he is given 2 teaspoons at first, and nothing really was happening. Then they increased it to 2 tablespoons per day. And after 2 weeks, 2 tablespoons, which is, as for us Canadians, is actually, if we're talking about it mLs, if we're talking teaspoons, it's 6 teaspoons, right? So that's a lot. That's like 90 ml. That's, 15 per teaspoon. So you got 30 times 3, that's 90 mLs a day. So usually we're taking 5 mLs a teaspoon to 10 mLs, 2 teaspoons per day. And they were taking 6 times that amount, if my math is correct here. So that's a lot. So hats off, but that was the result they got. And we don't really know unless we try. So that's with I did want to talk about the therapeutic dosing in that case, and it happening with the research as well. But that's really what it is. I wanted to make sure they just stuck with the 30 minutes today. I don't see any questions. Thank you for coming on board here. This video is taped. Please do share it. Share it with numerous people, anybody with any condition, anybody with any injury, and any person who is currently taking an omega supplement, really believes in omega supplement. They may be currently taking one of the other sources, be it fish oil, or possibly krill, or green-lipped mussel, or plant, the various plant sources, and they're not getting the results that they expected. So this is an option to try. This is something that I would highly recommend as a practitioner to try. The website will be below, but where you can purchase it or even find out more information, the research included, more information about the differences between the sources and why it's more effective, even the sublingual, even the article that I just wrote, Superior Sublingual, that's there giving you some information, is CherylMillett.com. So it's just my name, CherylMillett.com. You can't miss the information on there. Again, I want to thank you for coming on. I'm going to do a couple other videos just honing in and talking specifically about different aspects of omegas and so forth. So thank you again. Have a wonderful evening. Best of health. And I'll look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.